All right, Pop, so we've had a couple days to digest the CarMax earnings news, and I gotta say, man, I think the tides are turning. You pair the CarMax news with some of the other leading indicators we get from Cox Automotive, and it seems like the used car market has run into enough headwinds that prices will have to come down soon. Before we get into the nitty-gritty of my hypothesis there, let's hit on what happened at CarMax. Profit down 57%, retail sales down 13%, loan loss provisions increased a ton. What's going on at CarMax? Let's start there.
Well, what's going on is they are selling fewer cars than they have in the past. Same-store sales are down. Wholesale sales are down. And all the sales are down by large percentages, 12.6% on the retail side, 14.1% on the wholesale units. It's just same-store sales were down 14.1%, and wholesale units sales declined 19.3%. The only saving grace of what they've seen is that the average gross per vehicle sold actually went up $82 per vehicle in that quarter. It's up to $2,277, but sales are way off, and it's an indication that pricing has gotten too high. The cost of financing has gotten too high. The availability of financing has gotten harder and harder to obtain, and the amount of cash down that might be required to actually fit into the loan parameters is more than many people have at the moment. So they're holding their own in a down market. Their prices are still higher than average dealership prices, but it should be an indication that we should expect to see at some point retail pricing coming down on the retail level.
All right, Dad, you can sell your car on CarEdge. What's the deal?
The deal is you just plug in your VIN number and we'll get you offers from local dealers in minutes.
Seconds. CarEdge.com/sell.
Okay.
Because if you think about it, Dad, another interesting tidbit here, they still bought 262,000 vehicles from consumers and dealers in the quarter. That's down almost a quarter year over year. But if they only retailed out, what was it, 168,000 vehicles?
Yes.
I mean, they've got hundreds of thousands of cars sitting around. They are going to have to move that metal either at the wholesale auctions or to retail customers. I don't really see a world here. And if CarMax is the adult in the room, when you think about CarMax, Carvana, Vroom, like CarMax is the one that's been around the block.
Yes.
They've said they won't do it, and they proved it here. They kept their gross profits high. They're gonna have to lower prices, or they're gonna end up auctioning off cars, and just their gross margin at the auctions will go down. So I really do feel like there's a lot that you can read, especially, and we haven't even talked about it yet, Dad, but CarMax Auto Finance, their financing arm, they increased from $54.4 million in loan loss provisions up to $98 million in loan loss provisions. So they almost doubled the amount of money they're setting aside from their auto finance division on auto loans that they no longer think are actually going to get paid.
Yes.
So there's a lot that you can read into here from CarMax's earnings that all look like headwinds on the industry, which should be tailwinds on the downward pressure for car prices.
You would think, and yet they beat Wall Street projections for sales and earnings, even though sales and earnings were way down. They still beat projections, and they are the adult in the room. They are a company that is run by car people, as opposed to some other of these players out there that I'm not sure who they're run by, but it certainly doesn't seem to be people that have a tremendous amount of experience in the automobile industry.
Some other leading indicators that I'm looking at, Dad, that kind of just make it clear that the tides are turning in the auto industry. Tax season refund amounts were down substantially, 10% less than last year is the data that Cox Automotive has. Obviously, Dad, there's a tax bump every single year in the spring. That's why we saw wholesale prices through the first quarter of this year go up so quickly. It was probably the primary driver being tax season, spring selling season. That's when everyone has money. Well, tax refunds were down 10%. So I think that's an interesting leading indicator for consumer demand. And look at this data that Cox Automotive just shares. You got to dig through their PowerPoints and whatnot. Leads were down year over year so far in April on both AutoTrader and Kelley Blue Book, and leads were down for the month compared to March on both sites. Okay, that's interesting. Credit applications on DealerTrack were down 23% year over year last week. Unique applications on same-store basis saw declining trends week over week. DealerTrack is like the back-end software used by pretty much every car dealer for financing. Service trends on Xtime relative to last year declined last week. Completed appointments last week were unchanged year over year. So that, to me, Dad, those are two that are like big red alarm bells saying, oh crap, things are slowing down. And the service one isn't as alarming because, you know, more people are holding on to their vehicles and they're probably still going to get them serviced. So, you know, appointments haven't changed. But the other two, Dad, the DealerTrack credit apps and the fact that leads on AutoTrader and Kelley Blue Book, that's pretty damning, honestly, I think.
Well, it is. It shows that more and more people are taking themselves out of the market because they realize, with interest rates being what they are and lending constraints being what they are, that they can't afford to buy a vehicle right now. So if applications were down, what was it, 23%? I mean, that's almost 25% less than what they would normally expect in a given week. That means there's a lot of people that have just taken themselves out of the market. They realize they can't participate at the moment, and until prices come down or until interest rates come down, it'll be a while before those people get back into the market. It either indicates that what a lot of manufacturers have done, which is gone more upscale and depend on a smaller segment of society to buy cars and market to them, or it's just that the market itself is contracting at a significantly faster pace than what we had seen previously. And maybe, just maybe, this will all lead to lower prices, new and used cars, greater incentives for manufacturers and dealers to sell the cars that they have. So we could be on the precipice of a time when prices suddenly become more affordable for a slightly larger group of people.
If you haven't watched our most recent video talking about the fact that average transaction prices for new cars recently fell below MSRP, go check that out. Hopefully we can continue to have good news this coming week and the next week and the week after that, because you know what? We'll still be making videos trying to keep you updated on all things auto market. And honestly, I just hope, Dad, I hope the momentum stays. I hope that things continue to get better for the consumer, because all these indicators that show slowdowns, ultimately, you've always said this to me, car people know one thing. It's how to move metal, and they're going to lower prices and they're going to get cars off their lot. And watch some of our videos where we talk about floor planning to understand financially why they're incentivized to do it. But it feels like things are finally starting to change. April showers, Dad, they bring May car deals.
Okay. Yeah. No, that's a new one. I like that. April showers bring May flowers. There you have it. And the flowers are the good deals.